Hey guys, it's Sarah Reynolds, your favorite progressive patriot, and welcome to day 132 in our series, A Year in the Life of the Progressive Patriot. Today is October 10th, 2014. It is 10/10 Day, which is the day that President Obama has heavily been promoting all day today through Twitter and social media, a $10.10 an hour minimum wage. Now, of course, you guys know I'm way into a much higher minimum wage, at least $15 an hour. But it's interesting that the $10.10 an hour minimum wage is really gaining traction. And in fact, not just with Democrats in Congress, but also with Republicans. And people are starting to pick up on the fact that it's just not enough to live at $7 an hour, $7.25 an hour. It's just not enough money to live. The interesting thing is that, and this is actually quite devastating. I didn't realize it was this pervasive and profound, and it's not good, you guys. A fifth of the US workforce makes minimum wage. And it's approximately 25 to 28 million people make $7 an hour, $7.25 an hour. That's, wow. That's actually just mind-boggling. So overnight, if they're able to pass this proposed law, 25 million people would get a raise, a really good raise, $3 an hour raise. That'd be great. So that's not as good as $15 an hour, but it is definitely a start, which is why I tweeted a whole bunch of articles and I used that hashtag. But it's not as good as the 15 Now hashtag and the $15 an hour movement, but we'll start with this. And the other interesting thing was that 1 million people would be lifted out of poverty if the wage went from $7.25 an hour to $10.10 an hour. That would be just phenomenal. That would be great. However, and this is a big however, the government, and especially President Obama, when I say the government, I mean President Obama, is getting those figures, that 1 million people would be lifted out of poverty. He's getting that figure by assuming that people would be employed at 40 hours a week. So yes, if those 1 million people were all given full-time hours, yes, at a $10.10 an hour minimum wage, they would be lifted out of poverty, and that would be awesome. Now, the disturbing thing here is that he was tweeting on both the whitehouse.gov handle and the Barack Obama handle on Twitter that it's not fair for people who play by the rules and work full-time hours to have to live in poverty. Right, it's not fair, but why do you bring up full-time hours? It's not fair for anyone who's willing to work to have to live in poverty. And here's why I say, why would you bring up the full-time hours? The reason I bring that up is because the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, made it so that employers do not have to provide health insurance to their part-time employees. So a lot of companies, we just talked about Walmart doing it the other day, and Forever 21 did it. A lot of companies have been doing this. They cut a bunch of positions and then they rehired people to part-timers for every full-time employee so that they would save money on not having to pay for their half of the health insurance premium. So when a federal law like Obamacare gives a financial incentive, which is a big, huge motivation, to a company to cut full-time jobs, and then for that same part of the government, Obama, to say it's not fair for people who are working full-time and play by the rules to have to live in poverty. Well, right, but then you just took away their ability to work full-time by passing a federal law, Obamacare, that took away their full-time hours. So that was really ironic and really unjust, almost as unjust as the wage itself. So we would need to have a provision in that law, if it gets passed, that increases the wage to $10.10 an hour, that employees who want full-time hours must be given it. So we've got to require companies to give 40 hours a week to those employees who are happy to work that many hours. So I want to bring that up because it's just completely unjust. And as I've said in previous videos, if you make the wage $18 an hour or $25 an hour, but then you only give 3 hours a week, well, you've got a great minimum wage, but you don't have enough hours to make enough money. So it's a two-prong issue. You can't just talk about part-time, full-time, and you can't just talk about minimum wage. They are two halves of the same whole issue. So please be sure to like this video, thumbs up for me, please, and subscribe to my channel. And I hope you enjoyed this video about raising the wage and the 10-10 movement. Please remember to support the 15 Now hashtag as well on Twitter, and please follow me on Twitter. Remember that each time I do a video like this, that same night I will tweet a whole bunch of links that correspond to this topic. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Thank you.